All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Leigh-Ann Mole. Let me just sort this camera out. Good morning, Mbulelo. And good morning to you.
Salutations.
What's happening? Hope you're off to a good start this morning. It is Friday. I woke up to some load shedding, but that's not an unusual thing anymore. So I'm just totally okay with it. You know, what else are you going to do, right?
Amen.
What are you going to do? What you going to do?
What you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about, Willis? Wow. Remember that? That was, what was that called? Was that show? Different Strokes.
Strokes.
Yes.
Yeah. Strokes.
Different strokes. You got different strokes. We got different strokes. Da-na-na. Yeah, that was a little kid who lived with an old white man. It was actually quite a creepy idea if you think about it now.
Yes.
In retrospect, this little black kid living with this creepy old white man. And he was like a really old white man. He was like 507 years old on the show. So it was a very strange show. Didn't he have his older brother there as well? Willis was his older brother, right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's all coming back now.
Oh, wow. There's some, we watched a lot of stupid, crazy bullshit when we were kids. A lot of it not good for us, probably. I wonder how many people are. By the way, I've got to tell you, I started watching Euphoria about 2 weeks ago. Because, everybody's talking about this show, and it's like this amazing kind of insight into how teen America works, and you've got all kinds of stuff going on there. You've got drugs, and you've got gender politics, and you've got family relationships that break down, and you've got very toxic boyfriend-girlfriend situations. It's just an incredible show. It's a really incredible show. And
Where do we find it?
it's on HBO, so good luck.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how to make that happen for you, but this is just the wildest. It's written by a guy called, I think, Sam's, I don't want to lie, Sam Levinson, maybe. What a show. You've seen it, Mbulelo? You're nodding your head like you know something about this show.
No. I was just saying, sounds good.
Well, this is the one
I
with
think-
with Zendaya in it. That's how I kind of first it came up on the show here, and I'm 99% sure that Simpiwe knows what this show is. She would know.
She's nodding her head in the production studio.
Yeah, she would know. Right. So it's like must view. If you are at all interested in the kinds of dynamics that are going on, obviously not all over the world and not so much in South Africa, but if you want to have some kind of understanding of what, like teens in America are going through, and not all of them, obviously, but, a great number of them, let's say a plurality of them, then it's worth watching this show. It's called Euphoria. And Zendaya plays this character. She's got a little sister. She was raised by her mom. Dad died when she was quite young. That relationship with her dad dying young, and that was where she got hooked on like painkillers. And then she has this really, really dangerous relationship with drugs through the whole of the first season, and as far as I am in the second. And then there's all these other kids at school. And it's not the normal American high school story. It's not like you've got prom queens and football jocks and everybody's happy and, there's the odd drunken party or whatever. This is like, it's a fucking mess from beginning to end. And it's a really hard show to watch because the whole way through it, you're just like, can there just be one character, please? Just one who has their shit going right, who has their head screwed on right, who isn't dealing with the most horrible situation. And I'm loving it. I'm like really into it. I didn't think I would be because, I don't really care about this stuff. There's everything by not really care about the stuff. It's not the stuff that obsesses me or keeps me up at night or makes me wonder or any of that stuff. It's amazing. It takes you in directions you don't expect to go in. You've got this one girl who's at school with Zendaya's character Rue. And her name is, I mustn't get this wrong. Anyway, she is a transgender. She used to be a boy. Now she's a girl. And I mean, towards the end of season 1, they kind of, I suppose they fall in love with each other. So it's really complicated. And you've got all these other girls at school who are really weird. And there's this one dude who's super high all the time, and he's the drug dealer. And he talks like he talks in Ebonics. So if you closed your eyes, you would think it was like a black man from the 1970s. But
Yeah.
he's this white dude who he's grown up with his grandma, who's now comatose. She used to be some hardcore drug dealer. And his little brother, who's adopted, but is, I don't know, 8, 9 years old. And he's the most hardcore little bastard you've ever seen, like face tattoos. He runs the shop. Like he'll kill people, this little guy. And just these incredible stories that envelop all these people in this little town. It's amazing. It's really, really amazing. It's a very clever show. Not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and some people are going to be very annoyed by some of the stuff that goes on there. But you got to watch it. Venetia says Zendaya wins a Golden Globe for this role in season 1. That's interesting. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, I'm not looking for suggestions. This is one that was on the list for a long time. It's on Showmax, by the way, Kutle says. So if you want to watch it, it's on Showmax. It's also on Apple TV now, too. Just an amazing, amazing story. And like worth the time investment. I really thought in the beginning, not going to be good, but it's very, it's graphic. You know, you see the drug taking, you experience the stuff, you get into the relationships. There's tons of sex, there's nudity. It's wild. Anyway. Yeah.
That's what's great about HBO.
Yeah.
I think for me, because I don't like watching kids shows. You know, even when I was younger, I never watched Disney or whatever. So it's never been for me that feel.
Mm-hmm.
I love that HBO take it there, and somehow they've managed to stay there. By the way, because we know, like everything that's been bought by Disney, they're pulling it right back. Right? They pull it right back. It's all about the kids.
Yeah. That's
nice.
They're sanitizing everything, whereas HBO is making it the opposite way,
which is awesome.
I watched a very popular, I think it was only released yesterday on Apple TV, the Tinder Swindler.
What?
Yeah, it's a documentary produced by the same person who produced the documentary, I think it was called Don't Fuck with Cats.
Oh.
So very, very cool. And yeah, just an unbelievable story of this man who swindled women out of hundreds of thousands of dollars and lives this luxury lifestyle, private jets, chauffeurs, bodyguards, Rolls Royces, Ferraris. Right. He poses as a diamond CEO of a diamond firm, has been in prison in South Africa.
Sure.
He's an Israeli guy.
Wow.
Takes women all over the world to every country imaginable in Europe. Lives off of one woman's money that he's swindling out of her while he's with another. It's just unbelievable. It was quite long. I've got the last 20 minutes to watch today, so I'm pretty excited. But if you Google Tinder Swindler, you'll see that it's really a hot topic at the moment. And I see Sandile saying the girls on Tinder Swindler are stupid. I'm sorry. That was the big risk for these women to come forward. And I threw my arms up every time they missed a red flag. And they said themselves the risk coming forward to be torn apart on social media and through comments was huge, but they decided to take the risk because of finally catching him in the end.
Is it obvious that they were being, duped the whole time, or is it not so obvious?
So these girls are Swedish, mainly.
Mhm.
Um,
That's Mbulelo's target market, by the way.
yeah, and
Well, they're like me. I mean,
No.
let's also get that
or
clear.
yeah, I actually think the one is from Oslo. The other is
Mhm.
so they live in London, I think.
Yeah.
But that's sort of his target market. And I was just saying to my brother while watching this last night, I think we in South Africa are a lot more aware of bad people and a lot more skeptical.
Yeah.
Like there are things that I would
Yeah.
have picked up immediately. But you know, some people just aren't exposed to horrible, bad, nasty people and might
You
not
think
see that as easily.
you think we're a little more primed? We're a bit more careful because we expect people to try and steal our stuff and bullshit us, and we've grown up in such a criminal society that's how we think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the the very first thing when someone asks for your passport details, you just don't do it, you know? So there
Yeah.
were many times where I threw up my hands and thought, how stupid.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of put yourself in their situation. They
Tinder?
experienced it.
Hmm.
No, they experienced it, not you. They were the ones on the private jets and being made promises. So each to their own.
But to your point, and people might say it's stupid. So a Danish friend of mine who's in business across the European continent says he hates doing business with the rest of the European continent because in Denmark, when I send you the contract, you sign it and send it back. Whereas if he's doing business with, in this example, he was telling me about France, it's like back and forth, check this, do that. Because for him, he says they operate in a trust mentality in Denmark. There's no, you aren't trying to swindle me. So
Yeah.
I could see why the Scandinavian region, I mean,
Yes.
although my story is anecdotal, but yeah, yes, it pisses this guy off to do business with anyone but Scandinavians. So I could see how they'd get caught.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's some extremely good documentaries coming out now, and because it doesn't cost as much as it used to be able to produce these things, you can make it on your cell phone. There are little, they're little companies, small individual people who are putting together really amazing stuff, and they're just so talented. They're so good at this stuff, and they can do it on their phone.
Well, I mean, just now that you've said that, and I'm thinking back to this Tinder swindler, all of it, all the visuals are made up of face-to-face interviews with the women in a restaurant type setting or wherever.
Yeah.
Footage from their phones of the fun times and partying and champagne clubs and billionaire clubs and private jets and airports. And then also footage of old movies, because it's a whole kind of one day my prince will come mentality. So
Right.
slotting in those visuals as well, those stock images and stock film. So there was nothing new that was filmed with this. So that's actually true. It could have been made very easily by one person.
It sounds really clever.
Yeah.
I've just got to figure out how to swindle dumb women out of their cash. That's what I'm interested in. I'll use it as research. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, smart.
I mean, it's like that story we spoke about, the Barstool Sports dude, and how
Portnoy,
Portnoy. What is it, Mike Portnoy?
Dave Portnoy.
Dave Portnoy. He invited that girl to his house, and then after like 6 months of, they had a weekend where I think they had sex once, then he didn't like her anymore and he sent her home. And then like a couple of months later, she goes to the press and says, he sexually abused, or she insinuated he sexually abused her, but that he treated her disrespectfully. And, this is the ultimate end of where hookup culture takes you, is that you will end up, whether you're the guy or the girl, end up feeling used, and you will end up like someone just swiped left or right on you, and they might have swiped in the positive direction the first time, and then after that they just decided, all right, I had enough of you. I'm going to swipe the other way now. It's amazing. Like I see people around me, some really good friends of mine, and I've seen how especially over the holidays, some of them have kind of hooked up, and then you can see it's going to end in tears, and but you can't say anything, right? I mean, you maybe say one thing. You'd say to them, just be careful, and you can see that it's not going to last long, and there's going to be a situation that develops where they're not going to even be able to be friends after that.
Yeah, it
There's
is tough,
there's only so much you can do, and that's not a swindle. Obviously, that's not like they're being deliberately misled, but people just respond to these love chemicals. This feeling of belonging is so strong with some people. Rather not the feeling, but the need to belong. The fact that people just want to feel part of something, whether it's a relationship or a group of friends or a tribe or a whatever.
A cult.
Cult?
Yeah. The other thing I just watched, I was very late to the table, was Devil's Dorp. And that was completely driven by a feeling of wanting to belong to something special and unique.
Well, listen to Cheryl. She says, a friend of mine met a nice gentleman on one of these dating sites in South Africa, only to discover that she had everything taken from her over a period of 5 years. Everything gone. Hanging out with Jay says, I was swindled out of some cash on Tinder, so I could relate a little bit, nothing close to that. Yeah, let me tell you, and these are not stupid people, Everybody tends to dismiss them. Like one of the comments earlier was, these girls on Tinder Swindler, they're stupid. But, yes, Sandile, but I've got to tell you, like, I don't think they're stupid. I think if you hit the right buttons on just about any person, and this is what con men do, is they figure out how to get you. It might be because you're desperate for intimacy. It might be because your best years are behind you, and you're so scared of being left alone. It could be because you're so hungry for money. You've never had money in your life. And anyone, I mean, we've got this in this blesser culture in South Africa, right? We've got these young girls who are beautiful, but they have no money. They come from nothing. And they're so desperate not to be poor like their mom that they'll do anything. So these con men just operate on the basis of, I'm clever enough to emotionally, mentally, and physically figure out exactly what you want and exactly how I can get what I want out of you by giving you the illusion or the reality of what you want. If you want money, I can give you money. I'll give you 10 grand a month and airtime or whatever. And all you have to do is come and have sex with me once a week. And these girls are like, good, that's a good deal. I'm going to do that. Because with 10 grand, I don't have to be, begging like I have because there's no jobs or whatever. So I'm going to take that 10 grand and the airtime, and I'll pitch up at this fat, bald guy's house every week, or a flat or a hotel or whatever, and I'll give him what he wants. Or maybe it's because, in the case of so many of these girls who get swindled, they just want someone to care for them. And they meet someone online, and this person is just really good at manipulating them. They just tell them all the things they want to hear. You're such a princess. How come you're single? How is it possible that a girl like you has never found the right man? And you deserve everything. And I'm so lucky I met you because I'm going to give you everything. That shit just, for some girls, all the chemicals start exploding in their heads. And they go, wow, this guy, he understands me. And then they fall for it. They give up everything. Like, yes, I'll buy you tickets from Peru. Or, sure, you come and stay with me for a month, because then she's like, well, then I can figure out what he really thinks and how he really operates and what he's really like. Not realizing that the whole thing is just a scam. It's just a way to get rid of you,
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, in the end, these women lose absolutely everything. They've lost, they're sitting with loans from 9 banks.
Jesus.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. They were looking for apartments to live in with this man and get married. Apartments with rent of $18,000 per month. So you're talking really swanky.
Yeah.
And now
Wow.
they've lost everything. And the thing is, the part where I am in the documentary is he's still denying everything and gaslighting these girls and saying,
Mm.
how dare you insinuate these things? How can you
Well,
not trust me?
classic con man, right?
Yeah.
Venetia says there's always these takers. My cousin is like that. Everyone he dates buys him stuff. He probably just never developed the swindler skill. But he's got that in small doses. Luzanne says the swindler's modus operandi was to love bomb women. Well, that's what I was talking about just now. Then, and I haven't seen this show. Then creating a crisis for them to solve together. You know, that's it. Belonging and being needed are part of our genetic makeup. Yeah, I'm absolutely an exception to that rule, and I'm willing to accept that I'm a different kind of person. Then I just don't. The minute I feel like I belong too much, that's when the alarm bells go off for me. Not when I don't belong, but when I belong too much. If I feel like I'm getting too involved with a certain group of people, a certain person, a certain idea, I have to get some distance between me and that idea. Anyway, Cheryl also continues that friend of hers who was swindled out of everything in 5 years. She's a well-spoken woman, high society. When you're invited for dinner, you get the correct wine served at the right meal. If you understand how she was, like she was an amazing woman. She had all her shit together, but clearly there was a huge gap and this guy filled it. And then he took all the money. Even beautiful women who marry ugly old white guys for citizenship and then steal all their money and run away. Well, they're Russian brides who are doing that, right?
There's everyone doing that.
There's guys who fall in love with strippers. Same thing. Listen to this. Christine says, my mother was conned on Facebook by a man after my father passed away. She ended up giving him 30,000 rand. And then Carl says, Margot Robbie could pretty much con me into anything.
Yeah. When people are lonely, they I've always said that is the one thing I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. I would wish death upon them, I don't know, scurvy upon them. But I've felt lonely before. It's the most painful thing. And you will do anything to ameliorate that feeling. I don't care who you are, unless you're a psychopath, to ameliorate not being alone, because that's a whole different thing and people justify that whole thing. But when you feel lonely inside, I've never felt a greater pain. So as much as people go, wow, these people are idiots, maybe you've never been lonely. Ask somebody who's been lonely before how painful that is and what they would do to take that away for a day. And you'll see being conned.
No, I'm totally willing to accept that. That sounds like perfectly sensible point of view. And people who have been very, very lonely have done unbelievable things to just stop the loneliness. Listen to this story from Lindy. She says, my friend's boyfriend and his friends were at a club and picked up some girls. They woke up the next morning with the apartment empty and the cars gone. These girls roofied them. Jesus.
Wow. That's quite an operation.
Yeah.
He's like...
Unbelievable. Yeah. David says, I got caught for everything, every cent. Also my sanity. It's called marriage.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Dogozo says, I will never understand the people that get swindled. Well, until it happens to you. It happens to you.
It's tough. But the problem is also you can't say anything to people. You know, if you've been through it and once, and then people, it's so hard to tell people that what's going on. Because I think we all know somebody where clearly the guy or the girl's using you for money. We can all see this, Chief. What are we doing here? Kren, what are we doing? And then the girl wants to come cry 6 months later. I can't believe it. I thought she was my everything. I can't believe it. Alex, why didn't you say anything? What do you mean, why didn't we say anything? You prick, get the hell out of here. We try to tell you.
Yeah, but no one wants to listen in that situation. No Again, it's the chemicals firing off in their heads, and there's no way that you can beat that with rational thinking. For some
primal
people,
beings,
they're entirely the vast majority of people are entirely ruled by those chemicals firing off in their heads. They make emotional decisions because it feels good or because it feels bad, and there is no way to come back from that. The minute you let those chemicals in your head dictate and direct the nature of your behavior, you're finished. You're done for. And I can promise you now, with the tiniest of minorities being accepted from this rule, that is how most people live their lives. And that's why they end up so unhappy. It's why their lives are so messy, because they chase that high of how it felt to be in love, or how it felt to be needed, or how it felt to belong, or any of those things. And they spend their entire lives just trying to get back to that. And it's just horrible to see, because you just watch them going round and round down the drain like this.
I still blame Disney. It's where it all starts.
You think with that, one day my prince will come stuff. That's what you think is the
and then
problem.
You think that's what you think is happening when you start having these feelings, and you get sucked into it.
I agree with Leigh-Ann.
Everybody has those feelings, but it's how you respond to them that I'm saying is important.
You'll only know how to respond to them correctly and with your head properly on your shoulders once you've been through a bad experience. And that speaks to you, Gareth, saying you can see a friend going into something like that, and you can do very little to stop them. It's almost like a parent. You have to let the child fall and let them go through that, because it's character building. And the only way you'll find out how to deal with it in future is if you experience it yourself.
And we all have a blind spot. If you don't keep in mind that we are all constantly on the precipice of being those swindler girls, and you think you're above it, it's coming for you. Oh, and especially in 2022, they will get you. We all have a blind spot. I'd be very sort of hesitant to ever say it'll never happen to me, because I'm already an arm's length person. But we all have a blind spot.
That's why I'm saying these con men are so smart. They find everyone's blind spots.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's
and even sometimes they have a blind spot too. It could be power, it could be money, it could be any of those things. Anyway, a couple of stories in the news this morning, and then Leigh-Ann's going to tell us about this dude who wrote a 1922 novel, so that's exactly 100 years ago, about what the world would look like now in 2022, and we'll actually see whether or not he was on the money, because this is amazing. These people who predict the future, or these people who write about the future, and then some of the things they get right, they're pretty close to the truth. It's amazing. So let's look at some of the news this morning. From Eyewitness News, world's first malaria vaccine is making inroads in Western Kenya. So just after we kind of got bored and stopped talking about the COVID vaccine, they've now finally, they say, managed to get 100,000 kids in malaria endemic Western Kenya on the new vaccine, which kills, not the vaccine, but the disease malaria kills 260,000 kids under the age of 5 every year in sub-Saharan Africa. 260,000 children under 5 every year die in sub-Saharan Africa.
I mean, that's such a specific group as it is. It's such a small segment.
We have not even lost 100,000 people to COVID, and we shut down the whole country, right? From January, when was it? February that we first had our first case. We have not even lost 100,000 people in South Africa. And I'm not making light of those 96,000 or whatever it is people who are dead. Obviously, it's awful, and I'm sorry about that, because you have to say these things. People are so stupid; they only hear what they want to hear. I'm not comparing deaths and saying these are good deaths, those are bad deaths. But malaria kills a lot more people every year in sub-Saharan Africa than anything else. And now they finally come up with what they think is a vaccine for malaria. So what they've got now is this chance to test it out, a pilot program. They've tested it out on like 100,000 kids. And they say that these kids have now started to develop almost an immunity to it. The vaccine has worked wonders. And the moms and the dads there, they write these news stories always from 28-year-old Aquino and her 3 kids have grown up in misery. They always have to cushion these stories because otherwise people won't read them. So they have to make it about a person. It has to be a story. If they just said, got this malaria vaccine, like I started telling you, oh no, that most people just won't. You see, again, you have to engage their feelings. Con man news people are saying, how do we get them interested in this story? We make it about this woman and her kids. Anyway, None of the kids that they've put into this test group have tested positive for malaria since being vaccinated. And they're very, very happy in that part of the world to continue to do these tests. They say that this could be a game changer, which is a very good story.
Human beings are awesome. Sometimes people aren't able to see that, proper science is about 50 years old. And when I say proper, I mean us really getting into it. You could argue for 80, depending on what timeline you want to work. But the things we have done since Alexander Fleming, right, is just, it's so beyond me. And it's tough to look at it now because we want our food yesterday, right? Yeah. Human beings are just incredible things. We're the best thing that's ever happened anywhere ever, And I know it's not popular to say that because we're burning the planet down. Like, relax. Human beings are fantastic. I'm a big fan, huge fan. Just don't scam people. Don't swindle people on. Don't do that.
I'm impressed that humans can solve problems like malaria.
We should be.
I don't think we're that incredible, to be perfectly honest.
Well, what else do you compare it to? We're better than a lion, and everybody seems to think that's incredible. We're the best that's around.
Yeah, so we're lording it over the other species on the planet, but all it takes is one asteroid, and we're fucked.
Well, what do you want to? No, you don't know that. Bruce Willis. Sorry,
we're just as fucked as the dinosaurs. I promise you now.
Not true. I saw Bruce Willis, great song. In that movie, he started crying because he made a big sacrifice. I've already seen What We Do with an Asteroid. Not sure if you saw that film. Sandra Bullock cries as well. Armageddon, absolutely cracking film, and it's a real story. So
this is amazing. Achter in die Hok says, can we talk about Trevor Noah and how he's being used? By who? I mean, that's a strange thing to say. I have not watched any of Trevor Noah's material for, oh my God, 2-3 years? I don't know what he's up to. I don't know what the show is doing. I don't know where he is. I'm not sure. Is he still on the Daily Show?
Last time, because I also just kind of pick up stumpies that may come up on my feed somewhere.
I'm not being funny about this. I grew up with Trevor Noah. I know the guy. He's not a friend, but we used to have conversations.
So for a long time, he was in his house growing out his afro.
Yeah.
And I've seen one snippet of him. Looks like he's back on set, but still with the fro.
Okay.
So I think the show goes on.
All right. Well, I'd like to know why he's being used.
I don't understand that part.
He's making $30 million a year. I don't think he's being used. He's fine.
If you want to use me for $30 million a year, yes, cool. I'm here to be used. Bring it on. Yeah. But I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Trevor's kind of Tinder swindled, but it involves a director's chair and submission. Yeah, but who do you think is controlling him? I mean, again, the guy is obviously talented. He's got this great show. He's done extremely well. He's a success story.
He's doing his job. What do you want for people? What do you want for? Do you want him to talk about pornography?
What are you projecting onto Trevor Noah that you want that has nothing to do with Trevor Noah?
You can watch Fox.
If he's still pulling audiences, and I can't imagine they would keep him if he wasn't. And we know that the late night TV is having huge problems. So all of them are in shit. All the Jimmys, however many there are now, and Trevor Noah and whoever else is on late night. I don't even know. Like Stephen Colbert, is he still there? Because I don't watch those shows.
I don't watch any of those shows.
He is still there.
I used to be obsessed with those shows, right? When David Letterman and Jay Leno were on, I used to watch them all the time. I used to think, this is the apex of entertainment. This is where anybody who's the best at their business can end up. These days, I'm not so sure that's true. I don't know that late night TV pulls the kind of numbers that even soap operas used to pull in America. But there's the online part of it, which is sometimes much bigger. So Trevor Noah may not have, or Stephen Colbert or any of the Jimmys, they may not have the audiences that they once had on TV because people aren't watching TV like that anymore. But they certainly have the viewers online, and they certainly still know what they're doing. They've got huge teams of writers. It's a formula that works. So I would like to know how that works. But but I don't think he's being used. I'm not sure what that means.
He's in a democratic, like coastal elitist town. How do you think he's going to be? Is he going to represent?
Yeah, you think he's going to represent
Alabama's
Canadian truckers? You think he's going to be like a Donald Trump voter? He's going to go on his show and go, well, I've been thinking about it, and since I got here from South Africa, the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn into a Trump voter, and then I'll lose all my Hollywood friends, and I'll be fired from the Daily Show. And that sounds great for me. That would be a good career move. What do you want from Trevor? That's obviously what he's going to hold on to his job with both hands because he's got a good job and he's good at it, from what I understand. So,
but you know what?
His personal politics. For all you know, Trevor Noah is a raging Republican who, behind closed doors, hates all this woke politics shit. That's what you might, he might be like that, but he's doing what the money's telling him to do. And so what? I wouldn't judge him if he were. If it is true that he's woke as hell, and what Achtereni Hawk and a bunch of other comments are saying now, that he's this mainstream media stooge. Well, so what? $30 million a year? That's all right.
Yeah.
And he works hard. We know he works hard. So if he's working hard at putting out that kind of a narrative, well, that's his prerogative. He must do what his employers want. The minute he stops doing what his employers want, they'll replace him with someone else. And he knows that.
You know what it is? It's like, have you ever felt a musician slip away from you? As musicians make more money, they naturally become pop because they have to play to radio, and Universal's not paying you to be that rough guy playing at an underground dirty club. I've got to be able to put this on Disney. That's what's happened to Trevor.
With the alternative rock movement in the 90s, I had all these friends who were so cool that they knew about all the bands that weren't commercial. Those people?
Yeah.
That was a thing once. And these people were like, well, you haven't heard Suede. Suede are like amazing, and they're so much better than like Nirvana. And I was like, well, how are they better? Have they sold a lot of albums? No, that's your problem. It's not about how commercially successful you are. It's about how you maintain your artistic integrity. I'm like, oh, for God's sake. The market is the best way to work out whether something is bullshit or it's real. Just trust the market, because all of your intelligence and all of your artistic integrity is nothing compared to, what is it, 7 billion people? How many are we now? Let's say 2 or 3 billion of those have money and are actually able to participate in the free market because their stupid politicians haven't let them in most parts of the world. If they all decide they like an album, guess what? That album is pretty damn good. If they decide they don't like an album, it's not because they're too commercial. It's because they don't have the nous to make a commercial album. You know how hard it is to sell something to people on that level?
Yeah.
Piss off with your don't give in to commercial. Commercial's a great way to measure whether or not someone is an overall success. It's not the only way, but it is a good way of doing it. We've never had a better tool for figuring out the value of something than the free market in the history of humanity. There has not been a better tool. There hasn't been some genius with an eye or an ear for real talent who's better than the market. The genius is someone who spots something and they go, the market's going to love this. Not someone who goes, I think this is going to be huge, but not with the people who live on Earth at the moment. What's the point? I don't like socialists keep saying, Gareth, my wife wants to peg me. Now, I don't know what you want us to say about that. I mean, try it and then fucking tell us what it's like. I don't want to. What are you going to? Your wife wants to peg you. So do what your wife wants or don't. And then come back and report to us. I don't care.
And it's only interesting if you record it.
Is that like butt plugging?
She wants to put a dildo or a strap on, and she wants to fuck him up the ass. That's what she wants. So go ahead and do it then. I don't know.
But only record it. It's not interesting if you're just telling us. Record it with production value. Please use good mics.
Right. Put it on the internet and stop looking for attention. I don't have time for this.
I don't want to see that.
No, you don't have to watch.
Just like Trevor Noah. Who knew? Pegging and Trevor Noah.
The internet there's a space for everybody, Leigh-Ann. You could watch that Tinder swindler, and we'll deploy one or two of our listeners to watch. I don't like socialists being pegged. All right. Sunil says, yes, the purists and underground fiends. I've never understood that. They call every successful person a sellout. Yeah, but isn't that the point? Selling out
Yes.
is exactly what you want. If you create a product, an Apple iPhone, guess what you want to do with it? You want to sell out. You want every shop to go, I've sold out of these. Then you've made tons of money, and the world can go, you've made a successful product, Mr. Tinter. Well done.
Oh, have I? Oh, sorry. I thought this was real. It's never happened to me. That felt so real. It felt so good.
And you're a smart guy. And if you came up with some brilliant product right now, don't tell me you wouldn't sell it because you'd be worried about being too commercial.
No. I always say yes. Sell out, by the way. And I think it's this old school veneration of the poor artist, which has been programmed into us through whatever you want to go back into. By the way, Michelangelo, the Catholic Church said, you're not bad. Let's bring that in-house, pal. We're going to pay you everything. Make this beautiful. That happened since then, before privateering.
For all we know, Michelangelo wanted to paint and sculpt all kinds of things, but he was kind of narrowed into the funnel of, we'll pay you to paint religious and sculpt religious shit, so get on with it. And he was like, you know what? I'll take the money.
Exactly.
This is the universal sign of selling out, that one. And you know what? It's not a bad one. Okay, so speaking of selling out, here's a headline you might be interested in. This NFT artist, this dude has sold an image. Now, just remember, this is not the actual article. He sold an image of a trash can. How much do you think he got for it?
No, please don't do this.
$500,000 rand. Or $500,000. Sorry, $500,000.
3.8 million rand.
Was it an artistic picture? Was it one that you would like just put on?
Famous artist called Marcel Duchamp. He had already scandalized the world back in ages ago by submitting a urinal. Sorry, that was back in 1917. It's not the same guy.
I was going to say, bloody hell, still alive.
A century later, an American artist known as Robness sparked his own controversy by selling this rubbish bin for $252,000, which is 3.8 million rand. So Marcel Duchamp was the original guy who put the urinal in that museum. Remember?
Conceptual artist, gave us conceptual art,
What a bullshit movement that was. I mean, anyone who's I would love to meet those idiots who paid 3.8 million rand for an NFT of a rubbish bin.
Unreal.
Yeah, talk about swindling.
Well,
he says, I can't even remember where the image came from. I think it was just a Google image search. That's all he did. He went online, he did a Google image search, and he sold an NFT, a non-fungible token of this trash can, an image of it, not the actual trash can, for 3.8 million rand. I say, fantastic for him. I say, you've got to be stupid to have paid that money for it.
Listen, Damien Hirst sold a shark for 50 million pounds in formaldehyde. So
yeah, but I mean that's a lot of formaldehyde and it's a lot of shark. So
yeah, it's still worth more than the photograph of a bin.
Right, absolutely. So. All right, well, it's time for us this morning to talk to somebody who's on the show, and she is actually joining us from Australia. Sent an email the other day. Hey, Happiness, how are you? You're on mute.
Hi guys, sorry.
How are you?
I'm good, and how are you guys?
Very good, very, very good. What's been happening? We got your email the other day. You are a student in Australia, right? You're originally from Pretoria.
Yes, that was my 1056th email, but we are here today, so yes.
So tell me about Australia. How's that going? Are you guys still are they still under strict lockdown regulations there when the rest of the world has already moved on?
Yeah, I think this government is very, very clever. So 2020 we were locked down, right? We were just stuck, couldn't go anywhere. And then for us students, because we're on a visa, they're like, oh, you guys can go, but you can't come back. So I haven't been home since 2019. But that's okay because I'm broke anyway. And then I think they've opened in January the borders, so people can leave. We just have to quarantine, I think, for 7 days now. when you come in. And yeah, but I know like people who are on visas specifically, if you leave, you can't come back. So we basically, it's still the same thing, I guess, just kind of a little bit kind of,
So there are
the
two
kind of,
things. There are two things that you mentioned in your email that I thought would be interesting for you to tell us about, because you've got real world experience there in Australia now, having been there for a little while and experienced it as a student as well. So how do you find Australians generally, and what's your experience been, especially as a South African and as a black South African and as a black South African woman who's from Pretoria, checking out the Australians? What are they like? And again, we're generalizing here, so I don't expect you to,
yes, anecdotal.
this is not what we're not going to suddenly categorize all the South Africans this
Yeah.
way, but I mean all the Australians this way. But go ahead. Good anyway.
First of all, I think for me, I don't know if I can say it helps me, but my name is Happiness. So the first thing is like, yeah, happiness. So I think for me, everybody's generally nice. And especially like in the big cities, because I'm in Brisbane. So if you go to Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, because everybody's left, everybody like kind of knows about, if you could say, black culture. Even when I also work, so I come with different hairstyles, every month, and you can see they're interested in their kid. They're like, wow, can I touch it? No, it looks really nice, So I think here, everybody is generally nice, and I think the correct word to say is curious. So they would ask things like, your English is really good. Have you been here for 10 years? I'm like, no, I've just been here for 2 years. But when you go to like the regional areas, that's kind of, I wouldn't say that's a problem, but they're more ignorant, right? Because they're in that city, town, whatever.
That's true of any country in the world. The further you go
Exactly.
out of the dense population areas into the more sparsely populated farming areas, the more
Yeah,
the more you meet people who are less
yeah,
exposed to the rest of the world. Now,
exactly.
I'm curious about another thing you wrote in your email. You said that Mbulelo has inspired you to lose 10 kilograms because he's
Yes.
always so rude about fat people. Mbulelo, take the credit here. That's really cool.
Guys, every time Mbulelo speaks, because my dad is exactly like Mbulelo. Oh my God, he's very like, he's athletic. He's like 8% body fat. And when I left South Africa, I was top shape. And then Mbulelo keeps on, saying these words, and I'm just like, no, guys, I need to do something. Yeah, so I joined powerlifting because I hate cardio, and that kind of helped me lose. I think now I've lost 15, I think, kg since I started. So yeah.
Very good.
It's
Impressive.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, especially that Mbulelo inspired anyone. Normally, he just he pisses people off into doing things, but he
did piss me off. He did.
Yes.
But
Any way to get it done. Any way to get it done. I don't need to be anyone's friend. I'm a results-based person. So good for you, Happiness.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you.
So tell us also about these Australians, because I have this idea in my head, and we got an email from someone else who lives there who said that everybody's so compliant and they just do exactly as they're told, and no one's really fighting back. You've experienced a different kind of Australia. You say these people are actually quite uptight about this stuff, and they don't comply. They're actually fighting amongst themselves the whole time.
I think there are those people, obviously, who are just like rules. But a lot of the time I find that if, like, for example, I've been double vaccinated and I've got a booster, and I'll say it with my chest. But when I say that, people are like, why do you let the government tell you what to do? And you shouldn't allow anyone to tell you what. Yeah. And even at work, I've got a lot of people, because I'm in the disability healthcare sector. And if you're not vaccinated, you don't work. A lot of people have just been like going on leave because we're not allowed to work without the vaccine. So yeah, and there's like a lot of fights in stores because when you get to the store, you need to scan your phone, and then you need to show them, especially in restaurants, you need to show them that you've vaccinated and you've scanned, and then yeah, people are just like, no, then I'm not gonna sit here and eat. So, and I've seen that happen a lot of like many times. So I don't know when people are saying, oh, everyone's slaves, and I'm just like, guys, there's literally been Black Lives Matter marches, thousands of people. There's literally been 2 marches for the vaccine mandate, thousands like in the city, and we've never seen it on TV. So yeah.
Why do you think they don't show it on TV though? That's what I find suspicious.
Obviously, they don't want people to vaccinate, right? And if they see, they don't want any backlash. They don't want anyone disagreeing with them.
Have you been to these places where you have to scan the QR code in order
It's
to
everywhere.
get in? It's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
We don't really have that here.
That you guys are so lucky. I honestly, for me, like sometimes I just pass and make, because also a lot of, I feel like Australians are afraid of Black people. So a lot of the time I put on my resting bitch face and I just walk
use
straight
that to
ahead.
your advantage. Use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
Always.
Someone once said to me, like, you always look like you're grumpy. And I'm not a grumpy person, but I thought, good. Then people won't come up.
Yeah, then you don't talk to me. Like I've got away with it so many times. Literally, I never ever scan. Well, I shouldn't have said it, but whatever. I never scan because I feel like it's a waste of time, and like, so I just walk in, and then they'll be like, they'll just look at me, and I'm like,
what are you missing? What are you missing from home?
Honestly, I think for me, I'm very lucky coming from like a city. I haven't really, there's not like a big difference. The only cultural shock is punctuality and saying the word robots and speaking vernacular. Like, it's so hard. Like, I never thought it would be a problem, but I can't speak vernacular to anyone. So it's so hard.
How many Black South Africans are there in Brisbane?
Guys, I literally know 3 people
You're
from
like
South Africa.
Like a rare, you know, those rare birds that they always put at the back of these bird books that maybe 2 people in the world have seen.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know, Black people in Brisbane who are from South Africa. It's like the rarest kind of person.
It's very rare. I only know 3-4 people, but I know, like if you go to Sydney and Melbourne and up the Sunshine Coast as well, I've met a colored family. But yeah, the Black people, I think a lot of South Africans are not really keen on traveling. However, Zimbabweans and Nigerians, oh my goodness, yeah,
they're all over the world. Zimbabweans and Nigerians, because they had to, have gone all over the world, right?
Yes,
so that's what happened. But it's also it's funny to notice that they have different words for things. Like, you know, they go to the bottle-o. That's the liquor.
servo.
The servo. That's right. And they're words that you have to really acclimatize to if you're going to live there.
Funny story. I fought with someone because
was this after you started powerlifting or before? Just to
no. This was actually wild. So because of my job, and this is what contributed to the weight gain, you know, I was doing a lot of Uber Eats and stuff. So here Uber Eats is a big business. So this guy, people will collect like 5 meals from 5 different stores and then hand them out. So then I'm like, this is not my order. My order is from the garage. He's like, what? I'm like, the garage. He's like, I don't understand what you say. Which garage? Nobody sells food in the garage. I'm like, the garage. You know where you pour petrol? He's like, oh, the servo. I'm like, okay.
So Carl says, what a white comment. How many Blacks are there in Brisbane? As if she knows all of them just because she's Black. Oh, come on. You know what I mean. I mean that you actually have met in Brisbane, and you would remember. Because it's a rare thing.
Yes, it's a rare thing, yeah.
What is tomato sauce called in Australia, says Tracy?
It's tomato sauce.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's tomato sauce. Yeah, but it's hard. I think the Americans call it ketchup. We call it tomato sauce.
That's right. Yeah, wow. Yeah. What are the other words? Like Leigh-Ann, you had a list of them once. that you had to learn. Leigh-Ann's got these terrible family members who live in Australia, and she tries not to interact with them because they always send emails here about, so I hear everything's terrible in South Africa. I hear you people are sitting there without any electricity.
Yeah, that's another thing. They can't understand load shedding. Like,
No.
I try to explain it to them, and I'm like, I swear I don't live next to elephants and in huts. It's like a proper city.
No,
but
load
it's
shedding
like
is definitely,
schedule.
it's one of the most embarrassing things about South Africa. And the fact that we even
Yeah.
have to explain it to other countries is embarrassing. You know, you got Cyril walking around the world, shaking people's hands, thinking he's their equal, but he can't even make sure there's electricity to keep the fucking lights on.
Yeah.
I've always said to stop people having children, you should just put them next to someone with an Australian accent. How's that working out for you, Happiness? Because I can't
Do
handle
you
it.
know what? I hate the Australian accent. With like,
revolting.
I am keeping my South African accent, like, on purpose, you know. Like, sometimes I'll even be like, guys, and just so that I can keep it. Like, because I hate it. Because also there's a lot of people from New Zealand here. That one is even worse.
Yeah, that's the worst
can't
accent. I agree
stand
with you. That's the least sexy accent in the world. So Happiness, what do the other South Africans in Brisbane do? Do you all get together?
So because I am a social person, extrovert, I love going out. I've tried, There's this Facebook group with South Africans, but it's obviously white South Africans, and it's people with businesses who sell South African stuff. I tried, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Sounds horrible.
I'm like, Vors is nice, but nah, like, and then they see a black.
Oh no!
Oh no! Most important
they've cut her
part.
off.
In the corner. He's
Sorry.
dead.
Sorry. And then they see we got cut off there. We lost you somewhere in the middle of your sentence. Say that again. No.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying they see like the one corner, the one black person in the corner there, and then they start playing Mandosas and Galagata, and then
Oh shit.
I'm
I
meant
thought
to
you were going to say
dance.
Mendoza.
And then I'm
That's
just
horrible.
like, this is the last time. Thanks, guys. Bye. But
So Happiness. Sorry, before you go, I have to ask you the question that clearly everybody wants to know. Beautiful face, by the way, great teeth. I just want to tell you.
Thank
Are you dating an Australian guy yet? Have we lost you?
Yeah.
Because the great fear of everyone. Let's just get to it. Are you
Let me
dating
tell you.
old Roger from up the road, man?
Let me tell you my personal problem with the dating scene. The problem is everybody thinks I'm a joke. Nobody takes me seriously because I joke around too much. So nobody sees me as a material girl, a material girlfriend. So that's the problem I have.
You got to be more serious.
I have to be more serious, but I can't. Like, you have to love me for my jokes, right?
I don't know.
So
I always thought humor was a plus in like trying to attract a mate. That doesn't sound right.
But in long story short, no, I'm still single. Anybody out there, guys?
All right,
How long do you have to still be there for, Happiness?
Leigh-Ann's just
I'm in my final. Am I in my final year? No, next year's my final year. And then I have to decide whether I want to stay. But I'm doing social work, so I'll probably have to stay. But I can come back because I did computer science in South Africa and I deferred. So either next year, next. Or,
we love catching up with people all over the world who are listening to us, and we've heard all kinds of comments about Australia. So we're going to give everybody a chance to have their say, and I thought it was fair to have you on there. And listen, if Mbulelo inspired anybody, we've got to have them on the show, right? Because that's a rare thing. Listen, you have fun, behave yourself, keep us up to date, and don't go rushing after some Australian guy, especially if he doesn't think you're funny and they want you to be more serious.
If he has money, I'll change. Thanks.
You see, that's what we were talking about, right? All right, listen, Happiness. Have a lovely day. Cheers. Good to see you. Wow. 7:00, cliffcentral.com. We'll be back in a moment or two. Whole lot more coming, including George. We've got Sunil Osman joining us, which is going to be fun. And I'll tell you about Leadership Books Unpacked, a new episode of that coming up today. Plenty more on the way. People said that he was basically Hitler's 2IC. And he built up the Einsatzgruppen, and he built these extermination camps.
The world's greatest mass murderer. He enjoyed chess, the harpsichord, stamp collecting. He set quotas for the concentration camps of how many people you need to kill.
He went and looked through a little keyhole as they gassed a number of people.
Him and his mistress sitting drinking tea and with cutlery made from bones.
Do you suffer from collectivism?
I started collecting when I was about 8 years old.
Do you have an obsession with objects?
I sort of got into collecting TV cars.
Are you a fanatic? A devotee? Are you someone exhibiting enthusiasm or strong passion?
When lockdown hits, when everyone was kind of bored at home, they started Googling, like, what are these things worth these days?
Well, that ended kind of suddenly. Cliffcentral.com. I don't know what happened there. It just kind of cut off halfway through the break there. We were just talking collectomania. All right. Happiness was fun, huh? Isn't she great? I just love people.
Yeah.
She is her name. And this is why you got to be careful what you call your kids. Because if you don't give them a nice name that's positive, and in her case, optimistic and fun, and you call them something shit, you're condemning them, right? You're condemning them to being like a walking misery their whole life long. If you call someone happiness, there's a very high chance that they will actually be happy. Because as she said, she introduces herself and people go, oh, your name's Happiness, and they smile immediately. And it's a better way to meet someone than, oh, my name is inconsequential.
Yeah,
Equiminius. Or shitty attitudinous. You know, all those names in the Asterix books, they always used to come up with these. There was one, my favorite name from Asterix was one of the Roman centurions, and he was, one of the Gaulish chiefs, and his name was Over-Optimistics. I was like that. I think if I have a kid, I'll call them Over-Optimistics, and then when people meet them, they'll go, "Oh, we know you're unrealistic and over-optimistic." That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Ridiculous.
Very, very good. I do like the name Happiness, and I like her too. So she's listening to us from Australia this morning. And if you're anywhere interesting in the world and you want to tell us about your experience in your life, I want to hear about it. I want to meet you, kind of get to know the people who are a part of our little community every morning. And in that way also introduce you to everybody else, you know. Be fun to get to know everybody. Lots of rain. I woke up with rain and I woke up with load shedding this morning. So it's not the greatest way to wake up. I'm hoping that it all comes on a little bit later so I can actually get stuff done. Otherwise, I'm going to have one of those days where I just decide, all right, fine. Everything's conspired against me today, so I'm just going to be lazy. I'll walk around, do the basics, and otherwise get some like afternoon nap in later today. That's a good plan, right?
Yes.
That's what
Get that going. Get a nap going.
Right.
Are you shop at the beginning of the week for the whole week person? You don't strike me as that. Are you the
No,
guy that goes to the shop every 2 days?
I go to the shop as seldom as I can. I go when the milk goes sour or when I need to buy new veggies. That's it.
You're such a practical.
Do not like the shops. No, I do not, Sam. I do not like them.
I now see why your dreams are so practical. Everything you do is so wait for the milk to go off.
Yeah. So I've got a thing of milk in my fridge now, and it's going to last until the 8th of February. So what is that? That's
4 days.
4 days time. So it'll be Tuesday next week that I'll have to go to the shops again. So I'll do that. I've got to go into the office next Tuesday, so I'll just do it all in one trip. Then I don't even have to leave home especially. I can just do it on my way back from the office. And I'll buy the milk and all the base and bread. Like once you realize the bread is no good, that's probably another time you have to go to the shops. Because I don't eat a lot of bread, but I like a little bit of like egg on toast in the morning or something. So that's the whole plan.
Gotcha.
But I also do lists. I've never understood people who just walk through the shop and like look around. Maybe I'll have, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll get some of those. Maybe I won't. That's bullshit.
They scummy bad people that you're talking about.
Go with the list. Go with the list. Buy only what's on the list.
Where's your creativity and like inspiration? I mean, those shops have been designed specifically to inspire you and to think, let me cook this up.
Yesterday, let me tell you what happened yesterday. I had an appointment at 1:00, right? So I left at 11:30, popped in at because I haven't bought new clothes in, 3 years maybe.
Yeah. I
needed to buy some like basic stuff, t-shirts and shit. It's summer, so shorts and things like that. So I thought, all right, well, this is the shop I'm going to. So I knew exactly which parking at this mall that I had to go to. Parked right at the entrance because I know there's no one else at that time, and it's very quiet at that parking area. You go right to the top of the roof. You go in. The shop entrance is literally across the way from the entrance to the mall. Walked in. It took me, I promise, I would be lying if it took me more than 10 minutes to walk around the shop, get the 3 pairs of shorts and the 4 t-shirts that I needed. Then I'm lined up at the teller. There's only one open, so I'm a little bit annoyed because I'm thinking I've got my appointment at 1 and I want to limit the amount of wasted time, right? So now I've got 10 minutes on the clock, and then suddenly, boom, the power goes out. They had load shedding at the shopping mall. So then you have to wait for all their systems to reboot and everything else. But it didn't take that long. Got it paid, walked out to the car, paid my parking, obviously, because, even if you spend 15 minutes in these shopping malls, these fucking vampires, they want to take some money off of you. Cost me 10 Rand to park there for 15 minutes. It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal that these shopping malls are still doing that when they're also charging the people in the mall rent, and you're going there to spend your money already. Now you must also pay for parking. The fact that we pay for shopping malls parking in this country is just outrageous. Anyway, fact is, I get into the car. It's taken me maybe 15 minutes altogether. And then I drive out of there and I'm like, yes, I have won at this. Because I had a very particular list of things. I wasn't going there to look at like what kinds of clothes were available and to see whether or not, and to try things on. Oh no, I know my sizes. I know, this is the waist size. This is the t-shirt size. I got it sorted. 15 minutes, Leigh-Ann. I was so proud of myself. And then you get to the car and you have this feeling of satisfaction. Made my 1:00 appointment I think I was 10 minutes early. And then, you get shit done. You tick these things off your list. It was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, look, don't peg me for the person who browses and spends hours in a mall, please.
Mm-hmm.
I just think I'm somewhere in between where, yes, I may have a list of things in my mind that I need to get, but I will be inspired and think, what I haven't had for a long time is tzatziki, and I feel like a bit of a Greek platter today.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I certainly, especially for clothes, I don't,
Well,
I don't dilly-dally.
yeah, no, you got to get your shit done. I know Mbulelo's one of those people. You definitely have lists. Jared says he goes to the shops every day. I plan for dinner in the morning and I buy in the afternoon. Ugh. But then Jared is in Canada. So
yeah, but still,
probably walked to the shop down the road. It's easy.
And it's freezing now. I don't know how my man's doing that.
It's minus cold. Okay, so I've got friends who live in Calgary and I've got friends who live in Vancouver. So I use this weather app and I just occasionally check in to see, what's going on over there. Let's see what it's looking like in Calgary. So I'm just looking for Vancouver is 5 degrees today. So that's just beautiful. And it's cloudy. Calgary, minus 16.
Ooh.
Excluding wind chill, I'm sure. So call that minus 30 in reality. Real feel will probably be about minus 30 with wind chill.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Feels like, here it is, feels like minus 24 because the wind chill's back.
Yeah, like you must always...
minus 24. Are you kidding me? Minus 24?
And you must know, in Canada, that's like we're going out summer weather because when you're in the city, you're kind of trapped. Once you start to head up in Canada, it's minus 24 to start. Dry bulb, I think they call that temperature. And then you're starting to talk minus 35, minus 40. Real feel. These Canadians, crazy.
These friends of mine who live in Canada, they always like, oh, please. Everyone always just talks about how cold Canada is. Is that all you know about Canada? That's all you need to know. If it feels like, if it feels like minus 25, that's not an argument.
It's like saying, she's only a heroin addict. Is that all you want to know about her that's going to turn you off?
She shoots up with heroin every week.
Yeah, what about her other traits? The fact that she's an artist and can do headstands.
Hey, speaking of artists, I have to bring this up because it's been the big story of entertainment this week is all these people who are like quitting Spotify because of Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's such a problem. So let's just see who these people are. Because now Barbara Streisand, we needed to hear from that old witch. Barbara Streisand has just said she's going to leave Spotify. And I'm like, well, bye-bye.
Well, that changes everything.
Bye-bye. If anything, that makes me want Spotify more. If you can guarantee me no Barbara Streisand songs will pop up. In fact, I would. That is a unique selling point now. If I know that I can press shuffle on Spotify and Barbara Streisand won't come up, that to me is a massive, massive win. So go Bob, go. Anyway, I love the way that they all leave Spotify because Rogan supposedly was putting out misinformation, disinformation, because both words are interchangeable to me. But, we're not talking about the World Health Organization, who've pretty much been putting out mixed messages from the get-go. No one's trying to ban them anywhere for mis or disinformation. These artists, Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, Barbara Streisand, these are people my grandparents wouldn't have listened to. They're so old. Anyway, they're okay though. All of these people have been perfectly okay with sharing that platform with Chris Brown, who he beats women, R. Kelly, who is a sex trafficker and a child molester, Marilyn Manson, who's been convicted of sexual assault, John Lennon, who was convicted during his lifetime of domestic assault, and there's so many more. You name them, right? All these artists, they're okay with sharing the platform with murderers and domestic abusers and people who assault their wives and their girlfriends. They're okay with that. But they have a problem with mis and disinformation. Do me a favor. I don't take any of you guys seriously. Fuck off. No one is waiting for you to moralize about what should and shouldn't be on Spotify. Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
But is that all? Sorry, Leigh-Ann, you were going to say?
No, absolutely. Again, for me, I don't listen to an artist because of who they are and their background and what they do in their personal lives.
Yeah.
I really don't care.
But is our only option, to your point, Leigh-Ann, is our only option now is I absolutely agree with everything you say, or I have to shoot you with a gun in your face so that you're not alive anymore. Is there nothing in between? You would have thought it's been said the height of civilization is to disagree on a position but not kill the other man, right?
But
Can we not, like, okay, Leigh-Ann doesn't agree with me on kale. I'm not going to run her over in the street.
No, this is it, Mbulelo. I'm sorry to be the one to break this to you, but now Whoopi Goldberg has been suspended for 2 weeks by The View because she made that stupid comment about how the Holocaust wasn't about racism, because she sees it as just like two groups of white people. That's what she said. Her words were, "You white people just figure it out among yourselves. The Holocaust, fucking Holocaust," and she has the cheek to say that. She's like, "No, you white people just figure out among yourselves." Like the Jews and the Nazis were just like, it's intra-racial stuff. That Hitler wrote in Mein Kampf that the Jews were an inferior race. He saw them as an inferior race. What Whoopi was saying is basically everyone else is racist, but Hitler, nah, not a racist. That's what she was saying. Stupid idiot.
Because black people weren't involved.
Well, yes. I mean, if you're going to Whoopi Goldberg and the ladies on The View for guidance on history, you're in big trouble. Then you're in as much trouble as if you're looking to moralize with people of Spotify who are canceling or trying to cancel Joe Rogan. You're in a world of trouble. If your best source for history is those yentas on The View, good God, I mean, you just walk up to someone that's like the news outlets that go up to these homeless people, these mentally ill homeless people who are peeing on the steps of the court, and they're like, "What do you think of the latest finding in the court?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's the guy we're going to take our cue from." And they put him on the news. That's what it's like. Unbelievable. And now Harry and Meghan are involved. This is what I love. Harry and Meghan have jumped on this Rogan thing, and they're going, "Well, if Joe Rogan is allowed to continue to spread disinformation and misinformation, what you mean like the disinformation that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were saying when Trump was busy developing the vaccine with all the pharmaceutical companies in Operation Warp Speed, and Kamala and Joe both said, 'I don't know if I'll take this vaccine, especially if it comes from a Trump administration.' Why didn't you cancel them then? Because it's all politics. We can see through you guys. It's bull. From top to bottom, this is nonsense." Carl says, "Is Whoopi Goldberg a Jew?" No. Her real name is Karen, by the way. Karen. Whoopi Goldberg's name is
That
Karen.
explains a lot.
Karen Johnson. And she chose Goldberg because she thought it was funny. Do you know where Whoopi comes from? Her real stage name used to be Whoopi Cushion. Like the farting thing that goes.
Yeah, she does live farts now, so she doesn't need to be called Whoopi Cushion.
Look at the size of her; they could be devastating.
Now, what happened there with Whoopi? Did she just I
don't know. Dude.
I mean, maybe you can't let it go that fast.
Robin Williams' suicide hit her really hard or something, and she started eating. I don't know. She's just a mess. But I love the fact that the people who made up this rule, that if we disagree with you on something, like you were saying, Mbulelo, if we don't agree with you on everything, that you must be cancelled. Those same people don't want to be cancelled themselves when they step out of line. Like now, apparently Whoopi's really upset that they're suspending her for 2 weeks, and she's thinking of quitting The View anyway. Well, go ahead. But we're going to apply the same rule that we applied to Roseanne Barr, for example. Remember, Roseanne was fired from that TV show she just started doing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a remake of her old sitcom. And she was fired because she made some comment about a woman called Valerie Plame, I think, or Valerie... it was some Obama staffer, and she made a comment about it, like she's not even that black or whatever. And that got her fired instantly, right? But Whoopi says this much more egregious thing, and it's like just a slap on the wrist, 2 week suspension. Please. I don't believe you guys. I just don't believe you.
Like, who are their friends, these people? Who has friendships where you absolutely agree with your mates the whole time? What sort of life is that? What sort of life is where you don't get pushback? But I guess that's why celebrities go nuts, right? A lot of the time they don't hear no.
All they do is they hear people saying how wonderful they are the whole time.
100%, 100%.
The world they live in. But anyway, all I can say is if we've learned anything out of this, it is that you should not be watching The View. You should not be listening to Neil Young and Barbara Streisand anyway. and everything else is kind of obvious to me. I mean, The View. Who's watching that show? Who's watching?
Hey, Jen Sue's on there now. I think I saw it on your Instagram story.
Jen Sue was on the set of The View, and she sent this she put up this very funny video of where she's like standing in for Whoopi on the show. It was very convincing. A lot of people were actually like, "Wow, Jen Sue's going to be taking over from Whoopi. That's amazing." I do love Jen though. She's always where the action is.
Yeah.
And I'll probably see her. I'll probably see her when I'm in New York in March. All right, lots of other things to get to, and we have much to talk about this morning. But I want to welcome someone who's no stranger to the show, Sunil Osman. He's an MC, he's an actor, comedian, author, speaking coach, and now he's also a Reiki Master. Hey, Sunil, what's happening? Sunil, can you hear us? Hello. Oh, Siri's just replied instead of Sunil. And I'm gonna cut Sunil off, and we see if we can't get him on. I think he must be experiencing load shedding wherever he is as well. I'm a little suspicious, by the way.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
You heard that hum in the background has gone away?
Yes.
The UPS is switched off. Let me just check if my power's back on. Otherwise, I'm going to cut off like Sunil. Just give me a second.
It's the only country in the world, isn't it, where you're like, I'm suspicious I've got power. Yeah.
Yes.
It feels like it. Yeah. I'm suspicious I've got power.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
But why
exactly right.
wasn't I load shed during my slot?
No.
No, it's
Listen,
wrong.
I sent you guys a photograph or a video rather on our WhatsApp group. And it also explains the reason why I'm in a different setting today. No, this is not my new abode, as many of you suspected.
What is the setting?
I had to flee my own home. There was a surge at a power station in my area, which caused things to blow up in people's homes and on people's properties. My neighbor's pool pump almost set alight. The video I've sent you on WhatsApp is of a neighbor's gate motor, which was literally on fire. We were told to shut off and unplug everything in our house because there was surges of high voltage action going on. And so at that point, I thought, I'm not going to take the risk and fall into a deep sleep tonight while my house burns down. So I came to a place of safety.
You sent me a video, which I can't, for some reason, I can't save it and I can't play it back on the system. Don't know why, but it's of a gate motor that's just caught fire.
Yeah, I mean, I can perhaps show you here.
Yeah, show us on that. There we go. Just press play on that thing. Yeah, press it again. Oh my God, no! You're just missing the button. Yeah, there we go. Anyway.
No, hang on.
Oh boy.
There we go.
All right, so just show us. There's the fire burning. No, again, yeah. Sorry, it's not working.
No.
It's not exciting. It's just it's a gate motor burning. That's all.
No. There we go.
So that's because of a power surge?
Yeah, it was huge. I was outside when it happened, but you could actually smell. You could smell the wires in people's homes that had burned.
Wow.
I immediately went inside because my laptop was all hooked up, but everything seemed okay in my house. But it was pretty hectic. And then once they'd fixed the problem, we were allowed to turn on our lights, and then we had load shedding. So that was fun.
Now, if you lost a piece of expensive equipment, and many people would have, are you able to sue Eskom for that loss?
Well, insurance, I'm sure, would pay for it. I did think about that.
But then the insurance company should sue Eskom.
Yes, they should, because they're going to have to pay out a lot of money for stuffed up, expensive appliances and things like pool motors.
Yeah, what we've got to do is we've got to ultimately make the people who work at Eskom, who make the decisions, who've got us to this point, and especially those people who have left since then and who are living normal lives, like they've got away with it. They're doing their own thing. Probably leading very luxurious, happy lives with all the money they've stolen. Those people must be sued in their personal capacity for every laptop that's burnt out, for every computer that doesn't work anymore because of power surges, for every gate motor then we'll sort this problem out really quickly. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, let's.
Why are parastatal books transparent to the country? It's
What do you
not a
mean?
private company. Like I can understand why Adrian Gore doesn't show us his books, but why doesn't Eskom just show us what's going on at all times? Like outside of what you're paying staff, different thing, because they are partly private, right? So parastatal's not all.
No, I think they have to reveal all of their finances, but they do it to Parliament, not to us. I suppose if you asked, under the, I think there are laws that you can request that information from them, but most people don't.
Well, then I feel safe because, if Parliament's checking everything, then I know I can sleep at night.
Because you know what the comrades are like. We have undertaken an intense and drawn out lengthy internal investigation. Once that returns the results, those will be given to South Africans, green, black, blue, or pink, in a democratic, in a way that Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela would have approved of. That's what they're going to do, right? We'll investigate ourselves, and then, Parliament, come on.
There's an interesting show that's on today, if you haven't heard it yet. Do you want to know more about business and leadership books, but you don't have the time to choose the right one? I mean, this is a category of books that everybody loves. Imagine if someone could do all the reading for you. Well, if you listen at 9 a.m. today, live, to Leadership Books Unpacked, Manda Tsifularo and Ngobile Ngobo have some of the best business and leadership books that you've always wanted to read, and they unpack them for you. They extract all the interesting insights and advance your leadership excellence without you having to go through the whole book. Now, doesn't that make sense to you? It's like an executive summary. You don't have to read the whole damn thing yourself. These guys will help you do it. So go and listen to that show live today, 9 a.m. Let's see if we can get Sunil back on. Hey, Sunil, what's happening, man?
Hey, what's been a while.
Good. You eventually managed to connect. Have you also had load shedding?
Thank goodness my load shedding is only happening later. So I was like, yes, I can make it the Cliff Central show at least.
All right, good. How have you been? Let's just remind everybody, Sunil's been on the show a couple of times. He's been on various Cliff Central shows over the years. We thought we'd catch up with him this morning. He's an MC, actor, comedian, author, speaking coach. And now I believe you're also a Reiki Master.
Yes, so the Reiki journey actually started about 20 years ago. I just never embraced it. And I embraced it a good 4 or 5 years ago, and now I'm all zen.
So what is Reiki? Because Mbulelo has a bag of crystals there in the studio, and he plays with those. What is Reiki?
Yeah, no, Reiki doesn't involve any bags that look like you're holding crystal meth. But it is it's a Japanese energy healing technique which doesn't require touch. So I've got clients in the UK, I've got clients in Zimbabwe, Australia. I can do WhatsApp video calls or even Instagram video calls where I can do healing. So it's about energy techniques that you use to balance the chakras, clear the auras, and just we are, as Reiki Masters, we are the conduits to help you through healing and dealing processes. I do house cleansing. I went to a house the other day. There was an evil spirit trapped there. So I actually was able to pull it out. And so it's a lot of energy work.
What did you do with the evil spirit? This is interesting. Okay. I'm going to be a lot less skeptical in the next few years of my life, because I love hearing these stories. So even if, all those super rational, super reasonable people who don't like to hear any of the stuff that is slightly esoteric or metaphysical, I want to ignore that for a little bit and just suspend disbelief. What do you do with an evil spirit in a house, and where do you put it? Because if you just release it out into the wild, then it's going to go and find someone else to plague, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I think perhaps using the word evil was incorrect. Because normally it's a trapped or something that needs to be released. So I come in and release it. You release it. So you send it out to what's called the violet flame. And you take it, you hold on to it, you release it with lots of love. And you blow it out. Instead of pushing it onto somebody else, you're actually sending it out and releasing it. So it's more of a love, because that's what we need. We need to release through love.
All right, but how do you know a spirit is bad or good? How do you know it's bad or good? Because I mean, so you don't like the word evil, but clearly this spirit was not doing anything good for the people in that house. So it was trapped in the house, but it was also doing horrible things. How do you judge that? Do they tell you, like, this thing came and it pissed on me during the night, or?
Yeah, so it cuddled with me instead of my pillow, kind of thing. But actually, what happens is you just feel things are not right. So there's a level of energy that just drops, and sometimes there will be a lot of depression or arguments in the house. What happens to me is that they actually latch onto me and kind of beg me to please take them out of the situation.
The spirit themselves says that to you. How do you hear that? How does it sound?
It's a message that just comes through, and my angels and guides have always been around me. I mean, only recently I have to actually go, can you please just stop talking right now? I'm kind of busy with the human experience.
What do you hear, though? Like, how do you experience? Explain it to me. Do you hear a voice like, Sunil, this is your angel guide? Or is it just a feeling you get? Is it just like a tingling on the back of the neck? What kind of a feeling is this?
Okay, so it is not like blah, 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 blah voice, but it's actually it's a message that comes through that's internal, so it's intuitive, but
no, that's the spirit guide dropping him out of the action.
Once the action in many different forms. So
all right,
it could be a feather falling. So if I had to come to the studio now and say to you, yeah, okay, Gareth, let me feel your chakras, let me feel stuff around you, I can actually literally am able to pick up things around, like energies.
First of all, you need to be touching my chakras. Thank you very much. We don't know each other that well, but I will say this: do people have to? You clear out a bad spirit from a house? Yes. I'm sure there are lots in my house and in Mbulelo's house. I don't think Leigh-Ann cultivates bad spirits like we do. Now, if you come to my house, what are you going to charge me to clear out the bad spirits in my house?
Okay, so I normally charge, the minimum price is about 1,500, but I made a mistake once and went and quoted somebody 1,500 and got to their house, and it was this mansion that required a lot more than just an hour. But even in that case, it was like, this is why I've been called here. This is my purpose right now. And this is a big thing about what I've been going through the past couple of years, embracing my actual purpose as an empath and a healer and all these things. But I still went and did the house, even though it was this mansion. So I can do office spaces as well.
Does clearing out the bad spirits work like income tax? The bigger your house, the more it costs.
Basically, yes.
The more you have to pay tax. So you basically pay Sunil a spirit tax for him to clear out the bad spirits. If you live in a big house, it's more than if you live in a one-room shack.
Yeah, and it's a spirit tax, but it's a spirit tax, but also it's an exchange. It's a trade exchange in that this is not just this lifetime that I've been working at this. I've been doing this for many, many lifetimes, and the journey itself, it's an exchange. There has to be an exchange. And it's about settling energy. It's about calming the energy. It's about making sure that people are feeling love, feeling all these things, which have become so much more important in the past couple of years. And people are reflecting a lot more and requiring more of this kind of healing and guidance than ever before.
Right. Do you understand the spirits like you understand me now, saying up, down, hot, cold? Like, is it that tacit for you as an understanding? You said it was intuitive just now. How tacit is it? Like, for instance, so yeah, do you understand it like I'm speaking to you now?
It's not always as clear. So what I would do is I would go into a meditation or a prayer to calm my energies down, because I'm sometimes all over the place. And then I will ask for guidance according to what I must do. For example, last night I did a Reiki treatment via an Instagram video call, and there was one point where I had to ground myself because I didn't know what else to do. And then you literally just listen, and the messages come through on what to do. And then when I spoke to the person, that is exactly what they needed. So it's about trusting yourself as well, and you're doing things from a place of truth. So it's not a matter of tick this, do this, do this, do this. It's a matter of sometimes just pausing, reflecting, asking for guidance, and the guidance is always there if you ask for it.
And would you say the spirits are as sentient as we are? Because then there's the notion, it's like, no, bloody hell, I'm only unhappy because they won't change the channel to the cricket. You know what I mean? Like, what if it was just that, and it just feels to you like it's bad energy? It's like, no, put on Isiding.
Yeah. well, sometimes you see the energy world and the spiritual world and the spiritual realm is a lot faster than us. So they don't understand this human experience as much as we do, because we are spiritual beings having human experience. So sometimes it is as easy as, you know what, take a left at this road instead of taking a right. Trusting that guidance. If you think about it, when you were younger and you had a headache, where did you put your hand? Did you put it on your shoulder?
Rude question.
We've all got healing abilities within us, but social conditioning has taken us away from it. So we have to become aware.
Listen, I mean, I'm glad that you're doing this. And during lockdown, a lot of people have had to do many different things. You're a multi-talented person. I know you. You're funny. You're clever. You're interesting. You are entertaining. And I think you also have the spiritual side, which I didn't know about you before. What's the worst and most evil and most dangerous and deadly thing that you've encountered in the spiritual realm? What's the scariest thing you've seen or felt?
The scariest thing I've seen or felt is when there is somebody that has got an attachment to a past person in their life to the point where it depresses them to the point of suicide.
Jesus, and that happened?
During lockdown, during the June of the first lockdown, yeah. So she couldn't release it. She couldn't just relax. She couldn't just let go of it. And cutting the cord, when you cut this cord with the person, doesn't mean they're not going to be in your life. They will still be in your life. They will just not have the same effect. Right. But she couldn't release it to the point of suicide.
How about this one from Rob? Rob wants to know, Sunil, I have friends with too many unwanted leeching family members in their house. Can you make them go poof too?
So I can't make them go poof, but what I can do is reduce the effect they will have on the leeching. So
I'd give you that I'll give you 1,500 rand if you can make some people go poof. I'll fucking keep you on retainer.
You'll be surprised how many people I've taken out of other people's lives just because you remove the attachment and the energy.
All right. Someone said, is it possible for you to get rid of SARS? Like, are you able to exorcise the South African Revenue Service from people's lives?
There's a very big part of me that wishes I could, because they refused to pay me out last year.
Oh my God. Now, listen, if you ever figure that out, then I'll hire you as well. All right. So, I mean, how was the lockdown for you? Because you are the kind of, you're a very social person. You like to be around people. Your job involved being around people, being out there. Was it really hard for you?
It was extremely tough. There was a lot of grounding and just reflecting that needed to happen. Mentally, I was preparing for lockdown 2 years before it happened because of my journey from a spiritual point of view. So I didn't mind being on my own. I quite liked being the extrovert that decided to become introvert. I had to run away to Cape Town because that's where my mother is, because I'm in Johannesburg. So I had no work at all, no regular work at all.
You know how many people had to move back in, Sunil? You know how many people had to move back in with their parents during lockdown? And it's to some people it's shameful and they're embarrassed about it. But I mean, some people don't even have a parent to move back in with. Imagine how those people felt.
Exactly. I mean, and you know, lockdown and lockdowns in general is an opportunity for people to just pause. We're in this mad world where we have to constantly be busy. But lockdown was the opportunity to pause, and I used that pause to do things like edit my book, for example.
You've written a book. Tell us about the book.
So my book is called Sun Emotive. It's actually a journey that started about 10-12 years ago, 2011. I used to go into a state of meditation, or I'll meet somebody, or I'll see a quote or something, and then a deep thought would come to mind, and I'll write it down and I'll tweet it as a Sun Emotive. this became a regular thing. And when I used to perform comedy, then my comedian friends used to say to me, "Oh, so what's the sunny motor for today? Blah blah blah." They used to make fun of it. And then at a later stage, people started saying to me, "Why didn't you put this into a book? Why didn't you put this into a book?" So I put a book together with a whole lot of quotes, and I just left it. And I was like, "This book is not ready yet." And then I edited it, and then I realized, especially after coming back to the country, that what I needed to do was to unpack the quotes. I can't just put a book out there with quotes. So it went through about 8 edits. It's been about 11 years of putting together. And during lockdown, my mother, my family, my editor, my publisher all came together, and we put this book together. So what I've done is I've unpacked the quotes to a way where people can apply it to their life, love, and business. Because one of the harder things in life is to find a balance between making a living and having a life, finding that balance. So some people concentrate just on love. Some people concentrate just on that,
So what's going on in your life at the moment? Have you found love? Have you got, because you've got so many things going on. You've got so many plates spinning in the air. What's happening in your life? Are you happy?
Yes. So I have found a lot of love. I mean, I literally love everybody that's here. It's a different kind of love. I'm not going to want to cuddle with you at night. And I have found love to a large extent.
If you sneak into my house and start cuddling me at night, I have guns. I'm just warning you.
Energetically, I might come cuddle you tonight.
Reiki Master or not? Well, I'm getting out of town then. But you okay? So you obviously have a lot of love to give. You're one of those people who's, you're extroverted, but you also give off lots of energy, and you're a positive person. So I mean, how do the rest of us get there?
So it's a lot about raising your awareness. And funnily enough, that question is very nicely related to my book, because I found a lot of people going to my book that have bought the book, and they just turn to a page and they say they appreciate and acknowledge their needs more than their wants. And there's a lot of reflecting. So the way you can get there is by acknowledging that your needs are satisfied, and there's nothing wrong with wanting things, but to becoming to a state of awareness where you're going, you know what? For example, we are living in a crazy artificial world, and you don't have to be like that.
I'm gonna have to push back on something here. There are two things that I really don't. So this whole thing about awareness. I mean, we've never been more aware of what's going on around us than we are at the moment. There's so much information flowing in and out of our heads and in and out of our realities that it's almost impossible to keep up. And I think it's probably a reason that so many people are depressed and miserable. It's because they're too aware. If they actually just focused on their family, on their own house, on their own problems, on their job, they'd probably be a lot happier. But instead, they're worrying about, the politics of Canada, or they're worried about whether or not Brexit's going to happen, or they're worried about climate change, all this shit that we don't need to be worried about. I think awareness, there's too much awareness, if you ask me. So that's my first argument. My second argument is I don't have a lot of interest in the spiritual realm compared to most people. I'm not saying I'm disinterested in it, but I've never walked into a place and gone, "Oh, feel a bad spirit here." And you could sell me the most haunted house in the world, and I'd probably be fine with it. I'll buy it. And if you give me a reduced price because it's haunted, I'll be there even quicker. They always said that if you want to sell a haunted house, just sell it to an atheist or an agnostic or a non-believer, because they don't give a shit about that stuff. So how come it matters so much to some people and it matters so little to others? All this stuff around spirituality and, the idea that everybody needs to. You also said one other thing I'm going to pick a bone with you on is what you need as opposed to what you want. I think the need stuff is the pathological stuff. Like if you're chasing the things you need all the time, I need this person in my life. I need spiritual, enlightenment. I need to feel wanted. I need to have a cup of tea. That to me is dangerous. It's the want stuff that's good. I want to have a happy life. I don't need to have I want to have a happy relationship. I want to have eggs for breakfast. Need is like, if I don't get it, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Am I just understanding these words differently to you?
I think you are understanding it slightly differently, because for the awareness side of things, what scares people is when the reality of who they are and what they are doing with their lives sometimes hits them. So we're living in it's very hard, and Gareth, you'll understand this, it's very hard to be real in an artificial world. And when the reality, especially during lockdown and when people are on their own, they go, oh, hang on, without my car and without my money and without this is who I really am. And that is what scares people. And I firmly believe that is what's bringing people down into depression as well, because they're going, who am I really? Where did I lose myself along the way? So that awareness does scare people, because you would rather be a person that posts 20,000 things on social media and pretend to be something you're not. And then when you're suddenly sitting on your bed on your own and you have this awakening, this awareness, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't like this wife or husband I've been married to for 15 years. What's happening? And then when it comes to the needs, it's about acknowledging that, you know what, I've got a roof over my head. Yes, I want a massive mansion, but my needs have been satisfied to this point. And there's nothing wrong with wanting things. Jeepers, we all want things. We all want things. But when you acknowledge that your needs have been satisfied, when those wants come into your life, or when you earn and you work your butt off to get those wants, the appreciation is a lot greater.
Yeah, you've made no progress with me. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, Gareth.
Do you agree, Mbulelo, Leigh-Ann? I mean, what do you feel about this stuff?
For me, you know, I've always found it, I am more along the lines of agnostic and atheist and not believing in anything spiritual. However, sometimes I have these things thrown my way which seem to be serendipitous. But I just think that however anybody needs to find some way of releasing stress, tension, a perceived ill spirit around them, depression.
You use drinking and masturbation, right?
Those, and yes, definitely. And science, medication, which is something else, something that some other people don't believe in. But I think it's more harmful to not have some sort of release in a way that you trust and believe than to just sit there and do nothing.
No, I mean, this is why I like having, you know, people with different opinions on here, and Sunil is one of those people. And I have no doubt that when you go and you take a bad spirit out of someone's house, that it does make them feel better, and it does improve their lives. That's indisputable to me. How it all happens is where you and I might disagree, and you know what? There's a space for all of it. I'm not going to say you're wrong and I'm right and lord it over you. And similarly, you're not going to say to me, you're an ignorant idiot and I can't have a conversation with you. We've got to be able to do both.
Yeah, exactly. And I quite like the drinking and masturbation, by the way.
Yeah, that's also sure. I mean, that's so. Leigh-Ann's tools are drinking and masturbation. Mbulelo runs from his problems, so he just hits the road, and then the further he runs, the more of his problems he leaves on the road behind him. Am I right, Mbulelo? No.
That's always been my thing, is I can outrun my problems. It's a big part of me staying in shape. So absolutely, I intend to do that till I'm about 50, and then obviously my knees will hurt too much. But I guess for me, as much as so Sunil, I don't agree with anything you've said, and that's fine, because you know, for me, it's whatever makes people feel okay. I treat it like religion. Don't bring it into my life. As long as it's not in my school where I can't measure it, as long as you're doing it with your own money and it doesn't come into my life, I guess have at it. You know, it doesn't.
What do you think my coping mechanism is? If Leigh-Ann's is masturbation and alcohol, and Mbulelo's is running from his problems, do you think mine is like arguing with people and being obstinate and difficult, or do you think it's
also building a castle? No, yours is building a castle. Get a lot of stuff around me. It's almost like I'm in a fort.
And I've got a lot of hobbies, so I channel my energy into those. But Sunil, you've known me for a while. Do you think I'm evolving, or do you think I'm stuck?
I think that people don't appreciate you for who you are.
Oh.
And in your level of intelligence, because you speak from a different level of consciousness to many other people. Because some people's levels are stuck in a certain method, a certain way, and they don't see things from your perspective. And all you do is you try and give your perspective, which is actually at a higher level of consciousness, which some people will never understand.
Do you think that's
and that
a
is
good
not
thing?
your problem? It's their problem.
All right. Well, listen, dude, it's always good to see you. And next time, I know we had problems connecting with you right in the beginning, but next time let's get you on for longer and you just shoot the breeze with us and talk some nonsense. We've always got time for you. It's good to see you, Sunil.
You too.
Cheers, my bro. Bye-bye. There's Sunil Osman joining us this Friday morning. And now, dun, da, 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 here's George Mienie.
Hey, Gareth, how are you?
What's happening, man?
Well, in the world of the UK, they caught a man that was driving without a license for more than, all his adult life, since the age of 12, and he's in his 80s.
George.
He's just been shooting the breeze.
George, I'm going to ask you, because this came up on our show on, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. It could have even been yesterday with Pumi. And we were talking about the driver's licenses, and that machine that they've suddenly fixed, and now the machine is working again. There's a part of me that really wants to comply with the law, because I know, like, if I bump the car or whatever, they're going to be insurance things, and they're going to try and repudiate the claim because I don't have a valid license. Why do we have this system in South Africa where every 5 years we have to get a new card, even though we probably drive exactly the same way? Is that standard? And I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. You might have to do some research on it. But are we the only country that every 5 years has to pay for a new card, even though our license is still valid?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the other countries do in terms of driver's license cards, but I wonder what the logic is. It's a good question to answer. The only logic I can think of is maybe as you age, your picture has to change. But with the online world, you don't need that anymore, because all we should really have is a card with maybe a QR code. The cop stops, he has his device with him, he scans the QR code, he gets a visual of your license, and your picture can change over time. So I think it's a case of just, governments and authorities don't keep up with consumer digital kind of the world and the way it's going.
I just think it's so dumb that we have to keep going to go and get this card every 5 years.
Well, in today's world, yes.
I mean,
isn't that accompanied by an eye test?
But I think Gareth's talking about actually changing the card. Getting a renewed license, a different story.
I mean, it's just dumb. And frankly, I mean, in a country where you could probably buy your license, and trust me, I've looked into that as well. I've decided not to go the illegal route. So I'm actually going to go and do this. And I found a business that they book the appointment for you and all of that stuff. But it's such a pain in the ass, and it's all just admin and bureaucracy. It makes you almost want to break the law. I hate to say this, but you kind of go, well, I'll just drive around without a license. I've been doing it anyway for the last 2 years.
I think with the current debacle going on with this machine that's broken, and I would imagine that there are a plethora of people that don't have licenses on the road now. They're just driving, they just couldn't be bothered.
And when you see like Fikile Mbalula on TV, and you're like, really, this is the guy who's in charge of making sure that we all have some kind of regulation that saves more lives on the road or whatever. I look at him and I go, you couldn't save yourself if I threw you in a shallow river, and you're going to tell me that you have the interests of ordinary motorists? Please, the Minister of Transport. I mean, I know 10 of Carl, my dog's friends, who could probably do a better job in the portfolio of transport than Fikile Mbalula, and I'm really struggling, George, to make it a priority in my life to get this license renewed. I'm struggling, man.
Yeah, in today's kind of world in South Africa, where it's very difficult to do, it's understandable. It doesn't mean the law's not there, though, and then I think is the difference. Is if you do get caught, there are consequences.
Oh no.
So you got to. Are you going to take that risk? Do you want to take that risk?
No, I've got to do it. I got to do it.
So sometimes, unfortunately, we've got to do what we've got to do.
Right. Okay. So this old dude had been driving without a license for all these years, did he have to pay a huge fine, or did they just let him go?
So the authorities aren't disclosing what they're doing with the man, but they did say that he had never had an accident, he had never caused an injury, he had never made anyone lose anything financially, and he'd never hit anybody while uninsured, because in order to get insurance you need a license. So and that's another thing, I suppose. If you do decide not to get a license, there are repercussions from an insurance, finance, a whole bunch of things, which you've got to kind of, I suppose, think about.
Right.
But he had never done anything in he was driving since the age of 12, apparently, for 70 years without a license.
Right. So then there's a cautionary tale. Obviously, he was very lucky to not have got into trouble over those 70 years. But it does show you don't actually have to comply with the law as long as you don't do something stupid on the road. You need to be concentrating really carefully every time you're behind the wheel. But shouldn't that be the rule anyway?
We had too many roadblocks to get away with something like that.
Probably true.
Yeah, probably true.
All right. So, I mean, let's not take this old man's example. Let's just try to comply. All right.
And then a man is suing Mercedes-Benz after his thumb was guillotined off by the car's door. Okay, so now this is not just a regular slamming of the door and and cutting your finger off. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Mercedes-Benz, and a couple of other cars have it as well. It's called the soft close mechanism. So if you just touch the car onto the lock mechanism, it pulls the door into the frame, and it closes the door for you. All of the Mercedes-Benz electric cars now come with soft close. So he was standing with his back facing the car and his hand leaning in the door frame, and the car decided to pull the door in and lock, and guillotined his finger off.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that. I like this soft close situation. I'm driving one of Phil from DeWitt Motors' new C-Class Mercedes. This thing is so high tech. It's so beautiful. You get into it, you just feel like you're in a spaceship. And if some moron gets his thumb in the way of the door, I think he deserves to have that guillotined off. I don't think he should be able to sue Mercedes. Sorry.
Well, Gareth, of course you're going to defend him. You once cut your finger off trying to cut an Avo. So you're going to be...
No, I'm not defending
more than once.
No.
More than habitual offender.
Yes, but actually, I'm not defending the guy who almost had his finger cut off. I'm defending Mercedes-Benz. I'm saying I was stupid when I cut my finger with the Avo knife, right? This guy was stupid to put his finger in the door, dummy.
In other words, you're not going to sue Avos.
No.
Or the knife company.
Yeah, all those Avos. They've got so much money hidden away, those Avos.
Those sneaky, slippery little seeds.
Yeah, big Avo. You got to look out for them. Big Avo is...
Big Avo. It's a big part of the economy, yeah.
And then Gareth, the Slovakian Transport Department has approved this flying car.
Which one? Let me see a picture of this.
This flying car has been approved by the Slovaks, and it is now. It had to do over 200 hours of flying, and
George, I can't see the car. Why don't you just send me the link and I'll put it up?
Let me send you the link, Gareth.
That's I want to see this because I've been looking, George, since I've known you. We've been talking about flying cars, and Leigh-Ann, even before I knew you, George, Leigh-Ann knew that flying cars, that's the one thing that I'm most excited about. The moment I can get into a car and then also take off into the air, that'll be the most exciting day of my life.
So the Slovakian Transport Authority has approved that car for airworthiness. It's called the Air Car, powered by a BMW 1.6-liter engine, can do 170 kilometers an hour and fly a distance of 1,000 kilometers.
That's fantastic.
I love the look of this one because
it's very sexy. Here it is.
Flying car can sometimes pass as like a little helicopter-looking thing. We've seen those before, like a tiny capsule, but this looks like a flying car.
It's awesome. But it takes up more than one lane on the road. That's the problem.
Jeez.
Well, the wings do fold back, so it takes 3 minutes apparently to fold the wings forward and fold the wings back again. And if you just go down to the next picture, you'll see it on the road there, Gareth. If you scroll down on that link, and it folds back. So yes, it would take up 2 lanes if the wings were out, but it actually looks pretty cool.
Doesn't look too bad, but I still think we can improve this design. I'm thinking more of like a Star Wars. You know, I know that I've got high standards here, but these guys have been messing us around. They've been telling us for ages now that they would make this very sexy car. I've been waiting. I don't want to get old, and I'm already kind of old, before I get my Sky car. Bring it on! Like this is the best you can do. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit crude, but at least it's a start, and that's the main thing, I suppose.
All right. Yes, George, I'll take it.
Exactly. I'll take it. And then finally, the Audi e-tron is here, and Audi have partnered with Grid Cars to increase the electric car chargers in the country, and increase their capacity. So we're going to get even more chargers in the country thanks to Audi in the coming months, thanks to Audi and Grid Cars. And they promise to be able to charge your car up to 90% within 30 minutes.
Right. That's very impressive. So the e-tron is their electric car, right? Just so that nobody's. You talk about these things because you talk about them every day, George. But many of us don't know what an e-tron is. I was on Auto Trader the other day, George, because this is my new favorite thing to do, is to just go on there and Google or search on Auto Trader all kinds of really sexy cars and see how many of them I can't afford. It's a fun game I play.
It's a fun game that you can play. You've got to, the ones that one really can't afford, is for like 99.9% of us. And that is the ones that are marked POA, which is price on application.
I noticed some of those, yes.
Yes, so those are those ones. I mean, the reason that they put up the POA on Auto Trader is because those prices change all the time. It's not like the price stays the same, and the cars are often rare, so they appreciate or might even depreciate. So you have to apply to get the price.
I love that. When I see POA, I'm always like, oh, one day I'll be rich enough to actually go, hi, I'm actually asking for that price now. Hello, tell me. So I did find.
I've always wondered how much nicer the salesmen are to the people who call for that. Like whenever I see POA, I'm always like, I wonder if George's guys are going to say, sir, where are you? A foot rub is coming. You know what I mean? If you need a Reiki healing, no problem. Yes. I got you.
Sure. I saw this one, George. This is still the car I want more than anything else. This Merc GT. Look at that thing.
Oh, that's really cool.
I got so excited about that. I made it my wallpaper on my laptop.
That is, I think, from Mercedes-Benz, it's one of the sexiest cars they have.
It's dude, George. I haven't felt this way about a car in years because I stopped being interested in cars. Really, I drove one of those when I went for that day on the track at Swartkop here with Phil and his team. We were driving all kinds of cars, but that GT, oh my God, I fell in love again, and now I've been kind of obsessed. I'm a bit of a GT stalker on Auto Trader. If you go and look up who's been, because you could see the back end, right? If you look at the ISP that's been looking up all the GTs on Auto Trader, you'll see it's me every week. I'm there.
It's probably Gareth.
You can marry objects these days, right?
I'm ready. If GT will just have me, I'll have it as well.
I think one of the sexiest GTs is still, I think it's the 2012 model. I still like that particular GT the most. I think it's a 2012 model. There's one of them that it's just timeless.
I'm not even picky about the year, George. They just all. I mean, they've brought out a 2021, which is I start drooling when I look at this goddamn thing.
They are very nice. I must agree with you, and they're rear-wheel drive, which means you can go sideways.
Such a great car. Anyway, so that's my admission, my guilty admission. I've been secretly late at night going onto Auto Trader and looking up these cars. Sorry, what can I tell you?
So you're the one that late at night.
Crashing the website, yeah.
You're the one. You're the one that when the software engineers say there's still someone on our site, we can't do this update.
Me at 3 a.m. Yeah.
He seems to be on for 7 minutes every time.
Yes. All right. Yes.
Vroom, vroom, baby.
All right. What else you got, George?
That's it, Gareth, for this week.
All right. Very good, everybody. Have a happy weekend, and we will see you on Monday, bright and early at 6.